Welcome to the Great American Collectibles Show, seen Wednesdays on the Sports Collectors Daily Facebook page and the Great American Collectibles Facebook page. You can also listen to us on iHeartRadio, Pandora, and Spotify. The Great American Collectibles Show is brought to you by the National Sports Collectors Convention and Sports Collectors Daily. Tonight's headlines are brought to you by Sports Collectors Daily. For all your hobby news, features, and more, go to sportscollectorsdaily.com. And now your host, Tom Zappola, and Red Sox Hall of Famer, Rico Petrocelli.
Who does that? Who does the opening?
Danny Wilkin.
Oh,
listen, look, can you give me a little room?
What do you want? Chrissy said
this is ridiculous.
He's wearing shorts. Every time I'm on, he wears shorts, and he look.
I don't
get
touch
your legs out of here.
What?
Who does? Oh, okay, yeah.
All right, welcome to the Great American Collectibles Show. Tom Zappola, my good friend and paisan, Red Sox Hall of Famer Rico Petrocelli
Nice to be with
is in the house. We are in Florida, as many of you know. We have a great show today. We've got our good friend Steve Verkman from Clean Sweep Auctions. He's got a blockbuster auction, but we're going to talk. Steve's good. You know why? We can talk about anything.
No, good.
What
do you mean anything?
We can talk about any topic in the world. That relates to the hobby.
That's
later on in the show, also we have Bob Brodwater from Collectibles Insurance Services. You know, we're always stressing you gotta have insurance.
absolutely
For your collection. You're crazy if you don't. What else do we have? Oh, don't forget, you're watching us on Facebook right now. You can watch us on YouTube. Any of your favorite platforms, Pandora, the girl behind us, don't say her name because she'll go on. What else? Spotify, everything. Your favorite platform, we're on it. But first, before we bring in Steve and chat with him, our headline. This is kind of a interesting one. I remember this. Young Scott Carter's sports memorabilia collection lives on. 30 years after he passed away at the age of 13 after a 3-year battle with bone cancer, sports memorabilia collector Scott Carter is still making an impact. The collection of items he obtained from sports superstars is going on display in his hometown of Tulsa, Oklahoma, with the hope of shining a light on pediatric cancer research and providing inspiration for young people. Throughout the duration of his illness, Scott Carter amassed an impressive collection of signed sports memorabilia as famous athletes learned of his fight and his desire to keep adding unique items he could put on display. The boy met many of the athletes who contributed to the special collection that now numbers 300. After 20 years at Walt Disney World and with new items added, the Heroes collection is returning to Oklahoma. The story from a television station there is definitely worth the watch. You can go to Sports Collectors Daily for more information. That's a good story.
Oh, it's a great story.
Which is segue into what we've been talking about. On March 2nd down here, Rico and myself are going to be hosting a fundraiser down here at one of the restaurants for Little Smiles. It's a great organization for kids that are very sick and hospice, homeless. And we're asking you if you can make a donation. Just click on the link that we're showing. And I don't care if it's $5, $20, whatever it is.
Anything,
right?
yeah.
All we're asking is if you can. And by the way, we've had some spectacular items donated to us by a lot of our sponsors because we're going to have a live auction here. I'm going to be the auctioneer.
Oh, you're kidding.
Isn't that good?
Boy, with your accent, Boston accent.
Well, Josh Cohen from ESPN, he may be joining me. So
that'd be nice.
All right, let's bring in our guest, Steve Verkman from Clean Sweep Auctions. Stephen, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Now you're in a hotel.
I am in a hotel.
Can we talk about what town?
An anonymous state.
Right. And it sounds like us. You must be on the run, right?
I'm in hiding.
Steve, before we get into the auction, there's something that I've asked a lot of our sponsors and guests over the last several weeks. In your opinion, is the grading process changing, or is it my imagination? I mean, it seems as though I've got people complaining, like they've always complained about grading, that this should, this was a 4, it should have been a 5 or a 6. But then on the other hand, there's a lot of spectacularly high grades coming through. is it inconsistent right now in your opinion, or are you happy with it?
I mean, I just think they're tough as hell. We send cards in, they look like eights and nines, they come back sevens or seven and a halves. I mean, I think they're really brutal. I mean, occasionally they'll make a mistake, but a lot of the time you look at these cards and you're like, wow, I think overall the trend has been every year. I think they just keep moving the goalposts further and further out, is our experience.
Do you reach back to them, or say, hey, how can you justify this? Do you guys ever complain?
I tried that once or twice. It didn't get any.
Really?
I mean, I don't, that never really goes anywhere. I just describe, I'll whine and complain in the description in our catalog and our website. I think this is this and this is this. And I mean, true, there's most of the time they get it right, but they're, on those judgment calls, they're tough, whether it's an 8 or a 7 or a 7.5, but if something's off 2 or 3 grades, there's almost always a technical call. Like you'll get a 5 and swear it should be an 8 and you crack it out. You're like, oh, it's a little crease.
It's hard to argue because we're sending it to them.
Yeah, no, that's true. But
you know what I mean?
I mean, still though, Rick, it's you gotta. Yeah. I mean, you are walking a fine line. Do you use both of the two major third party grading companies, or do you lean towards PSA, or do you use both of them, PSA and SGC?
We use PSA for obviously probably 95 to 98% of the business. We give SGC some stuff. We're happy to sell their cards, their products fine, and we sell Beckett cards too. But when we submit things, we almost always go to PSA because whether you like it or don't like it, they're the market leader. Their brand is very powerful. I hate that they raised their prices 20% this year in a tough market. I don't know why that was needed. I don't know why I didn't see that. I didn't see that coming. I was really surprised by that, but this is what it is.
And from an investment standpoint, it really is. No matter which, people try to fluff it off, but a graded card from PSA is worth more money than a graded card from SGC if they're on the same level. That's the bottom line. I mean, they just have more value.
I was just going to say, I would want an explanation. I mean, if you're paying for,
I'd tell you to go to hell.
What?
They're not going to explain anything.
Wait, why not?
I mean, customer service will try to.
You expected an 8 and it's a 6. I mean, okay, why? What do you mean?
Ask Steve.
No, I know, but I'm arguing the point that you should. I guess they don't want everybody.
But
to
something,
complain.
though, Steve. In the old days, not too long ago, guys like Dave Steinberger. I mean, when Joe was there, Joe Orlando, at least. I think you could reach out to some of those guys and you'd get some type of an explanation, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, you could do that sometimes. I haven't had any luck with that. So the few times we've tried, and I'm not going to, disparage anybody on here. So, it is what it is. But overall, they get it right almost all the time. But they're not perfect. But, no one's ever going to be. But I think getting back to your original point, though, I just feel like every year, they get a little bit stricter, a little bit tougher. But you look at and then one way you can tell, like you look at cards from 4 years ago or 5 years ago and a 5 or 6, and now they'd be a 3 or a 4. The way because it's really not. I mean, it's somewhat of an opinion, but maybe it isn't. There's some empirical evidence from looking at the older graded cards and the ones now, and you're like, wow. So that's the trend we see, and you have an older graded card, you're like, ooh, what's up. So
that's true. But you have a Joe Cronin, 1939.
You played with him, didn't you?
No, but he was the president of the American League, lived in Boston because he played for Hall of Famer. I know his daughter real well. And he would come in. He was a shortstop when I came in as a shortstop. And he would encourage me.
Really?
The nicest guy. Oh, man, I'll never forget it. You can imagine as a young shortstop. And just a tremendous man.
Wait a second. When did Cronin play? He played for the Sox, right? Didn't he?
Yeah, he was the manager, coach, player manager.
Right.
Played with Ted Williams. He managed Ted Williams. But so you got a jersey. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is like one of the best things I think we've ever had. A local person knew Joe Cronin. He got the jersey back then. It's completely original. It's graded in 9 by Mears. I mean, this thing is just awesome. I mean, you hold this thing up like, wow, pre-war Hall of Famer, completely original jersey, never before been seen by the hobby, completely fresh, and it's just great. So so far bidding's going pretty well on it. Be interesting to see where it ends up, but right now it sure seems like a great deal. But anything can happen with these things, especially memorabilia at the last minute. Things can go crazy.
Charlie Wagner, who was an old timer at the time, he told us a story about Joe when Ted Williams came in with the Red Sox, and these guys, DiMaggio was with. He went to the Yankees and says, "If you guys ever throw at his head," this is Ted Williams. He says, "number 5 is going to go down, not just once, but many, many times."
Really?
Yeah, he told them. He says, and they never threw at Ted Williams.
That's funny. That's funny. All right, so you have all kinds of stuff going on. Tell us about the Ty Cobb postcard.
Yeah, it's a Dietzke postcard. It's one of those early cards that has they come two ways. This one has his name on the front. Those are extremely scarce. So it's basically a rookie card, but it was issued over a couple of years. So you can't say it's 100%, but it's like a 1907, 1908. Just an awesome Ty Cobb early piece that rookie era Ty Cobb card. So very popular and really scarce with the same variation on it.
It's funny. I was reading an article about what 2024 is looking like for the hobby and what 2023, some of the results of 2023.
Yeah.
And vintage pretty much held its own. I mean, vintage car, I mean, it was down maybe just a smidgen, but overall the vintage market was fairly strong when the modern market was down like 30 or 40%, Steve. Did you see that?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's happening is, people are becoming more discriminating. If you have something really great, really rare, really special, the bidding goes crazy. Things that have been on the market or not been on the market like in a long time or ever, we get a huge response to it. But I think, honestly, and I say this as an auctioneer, there's too many auctions selling too much stuff. A lot of it's replicative. I think you're nuts to let them have 53 manels in one auction, and it depresses the whole market. It's great for the auctioneers, but there's just too much stuff being sold too quickly. That's very, same sort of stuff, generic.
You know what else I'm seeing, and I agree 100% with you. But you know what I'm seeing also? I'm seeing items being repeated more often. So in other words, if you put a Joe Smith card in a particular auction, somebody wins it, 4 months later, you'll see that card in somebody else's auction. That seems to be happening more and more today. Is that my imagination?
I don't follow the other auction houses too much. I was just too busy for better or worse.
Sure.
You're probably right. And in many cases, that means the item probably didn't even sell. But, I just can speak for our customers and our customer base. They hate when stuff was in another auction. Like when I'm at a show and someone wants to consign something or I want to buy something, I'm like, listen, has it been in another auction? Like over the weekend, someone had a really, really cool Joe DiMaggio autograph, a really early one, but it was just in another auction a few months before. So it's hard,
Exactly.
Then then the bidders will reasonably ask, did it really sell? What was the last price to have it on the market? Now, if it's off the market a few years, we get it. But, I think overall, but that being said, we keep adding new customers. Last year was honestly the best year we ever had. I mean, so the market overall is wonderful, but it's adjusting. So people want, it's almost like what people want what they can't have. They want stuff they don't see anywhere else, and they fight like hell for it at auction. Like one thing we have in our auction, we have like 100 lots of this amazing non-sports collection, and it's really goofy stuff.
I saw that. I mean, you got some really cool stuff in there. Some very, very cool stuff. A lot of entertainment signed pieces. I think that's cool, man.
Well, there's like these weird cards I shouldn't say weird cards, but there's stuff you don't see, like these horror cards and monster cards and these sets from the early 60s, and they're getting tons and tons of bids. Some of them have 10 and 20 bids per lot with a week to go. So there's
monsters.
There's a lot of collectors in that stuff. Was it something of Wars? I mean, all kinds of stuff.
Horrors of War. That one is. We have that set too. That's a funny set because you have the Hitler cards and the most valuable cards, and I won't picture them on our website. I'll describe them, and I won't put them on there. And the time that was the 52 tops and the T206 of non-sport cards. It used to be a $10,000 set. Now things have changed. But to be fair, the set critiques war, it doesn't glorify it. but it's a tough thing that's set. But anyway, just there's these things that just haven't been on the market before, and these very unusual things, and we get just huge response to it. So it's fun to see. The unopened stuff also seems to be strong. We have one of our better sections. We have 25 or 30 really good boxes and cases going back to like 1977 tops, full wax box, and we're getting a lot of action on those too.
Very cool.
A lot of new bidders buying that stuff.
That's what you're not. We are chatting with Steve Verkman from Clean Sweep Auctions. He's going to be with us for the whole hour. Great. But right now, Rico, it's a very, very, very important part of the show.
Yeah, right.
It's time for our segment, On Deck with Rico.
Your questions answered. On Deck with Rico Patricelli.
What's that? What the hell's wrong with you?
No, I didn't. I don't recall hearing that before. The introduction for that's a little munchkin, isn't it?
A couple of midgets we hired.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
What the hell? All right, listen, it's time for our segment On Deck with Rico, brought to us each week by our good friend Brian Dwyer and the great staff at REA Auctions.
Tough.
Don't forget to get your bid in by going to robertedwardauctions.com. That's Robert Edward Auctions for extraordinary results and extraordinary service. And Steve, by the way, I'm going to ask Rico the question that was submitted, and feel free to jump in. This was submitted by Tom Knott, Knott. Tom Knott.
Is he real?
Rico.
Yeah.
Who are two of the most underrated pitchers, in your opinion, of your time?
My time. That's really tough. It really is. Because, hitters, I might hit a particular pitcher real well, but almost the rest of the team won't, stuff like that. But Mickey Lolich, I thought, was underrated. He was well known. He was a heck of a pitcher. And, he had a great year.
He had 120 games, didn't he?
Yeah, 68. He in the World Series. I think he hit a grand slam or home run. Anyway, he was a heck of a pitcher. Left hand. I hit left-handers pretty well. And boy, he had a slider that would come into your hands, and very tough to get the head of the bat out. And a great competitor. And used to tease him, he was kind of overweight, but
he was a little pudgy.
It proved that you don't have to be in great
Peon
shape.
Was too.
A lot of guys did. What the heck?
All right, so yeah, Mickey Lolich
he had really good stuff. Great sinker, low 93 or so, and then that great that slider, nasty. The other guy was Mike Cuellar. Okay, this again is my opinion. He pitched on the Orioles. When he was on the Orioles, he had some great years. And he threw slower, and slowest.
Really?
It was just when George Scott came back, struck out, and said, "Boomer, what's he look like?" First time he says, "He was slower, and slowest." He threw.
But wait a second. But why was he so successful?
Because everybody was, off kilter. You couldn't. He throws slow, right? Then the next one was, all right, you're going to wait, and it's slower, and you're still out there. Then the third one, my God, how can you? It was incredible.
How'd you do against him?
Decent, not great.
And what about against Mickey Lolich?
Yes, that's right. Okay.
Had a lot of success, did you?
No, yes and no.
Go ahead, Steve.
Rico, who was your favorite pitcher to hit against?
Favorite? Oh, boy.
Robin Roberts.
Yeah, Robin Roberts when he was
112.
Yeah.
No, who was your favorite pitcher?
Well, I hit Stottlemyre good, and there's a couple of other pitchers, but
you hit Jim Papa pretty good, didn't you?
No, not well. I got some hits. I hit a couple of home runs off him, but he was tough, boy.
How about the knuckleballs?
Knuckleballs, I could hit well. Yeah, really.
Joe Niekro, Phil Niekro.
Yeah. Well, Phil was tougher. Joe was a little easier to hit. But I could wait on the ball pretty good. So.
Good. All right, listen, we have about a minute and a half, Steve. Quick, and then we'll obviously get back to you. Talk about real quickly the O'Hara and Demet T206s, man. Killer cards, 2 killer cards.
They're the keys to the set, assuming you're not gonna Otis Wagner. Everybody needs them for their sets. They're both like nice collector grade cards. They display well. They got a lot of good bids so far. Those are just great cards. They're anchor cards for the, what many say is the ultimate baseball card set. So you can never go wrong with those.
Those are two cards I never owned.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? We have time?
We have about half a minute.
Oh, and I'll wait till.
Yeah, let's do this. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Steve is in the house, Steve Verkman. We're going to come back also with another Gax moment. So hang in there. We will be all right.
You ever hear of a Gax moment?
Don't start.
Hi, this is Rico Petrocelli. Right now, thousands of children are facing the most difficult times in their lives with serious illness, homelessness, and other tragedies. I hope that you can join us on March 2nd at the County Line Restaurant in Juno Beach, Florida, for a live auction and some great baseball talk. If you can't join us, please consider a donation to littlesmilesfl.org. That's littlesmilesfl.org to help these kids. And when you donate, please mention the Great American Collectibles Show. We hope you'll help.
Since 1996, Brian Drent and the staff at Denver's Mile High Card Company have led the charge in the collectibles hobby. Mile High is a full-service dealer specializing in buying and selling cards and offers a competitive consignment program for all collectors. Whether it be their computerized want list service, appraisals, or auction services, Mile High has it all. If you've been searching for a company with a selection of high-grade vintage 1888 to 1970 baseball cards and memorabilia that shares your passion, aim high, Mile High. Go to milehighcardco.com or call 303-840-2784 for more information.
This is Brian Drent, president of Mile High Card Company. Is your sports card and memorabilia collection properly insured? For easily replaced personal property, homeowners insurance is all most people need. But for prized possessions that you may have spent a lifetime collecting, it doesn't go nearly far enough. Collectibles Insurance Services has been insuring for over 50 years. They offer a full range of protection and a $0 deductible at an affordable rate with no appraisals required. I know because they insure my collection. If you have a minute, go to collectinsure.com and learn more about insuring your personal card or memorabilia collection.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
How would you like to own the bat that was used by your favorite player when he hit that towering home run or game-winning base hit? Now look no further than JT Sports, specializing in the sale and authentication of professional game-used bats. As the official authenticators of professional model game-used bats for PSA DNA, JT Sports will guarantee the authenticity of any bat purchased from them. JT Sports also buys and sells game-worn uniforms, gloves, and baseball equipment. The unique quality of the collectible is what JT Sports is all about. Give them a call at 609-487-8003 or check them out at GameUseBats.com.
Okay, we are back. On Thursday, January 18th, Memory Lane opened one of their most prestigious auctions ever, a premier collection of 120 PSA high-grade sports cards for an abundance of sports' greatest legends. Commencing this world-class event is a PSA 7 T206 Green Cobb, great card, followed by a PSA 8 T204 Ramley Walter Johnson and a PSA 9 1952 Bowman Mickey Mantle. The laundry list of baseball icons spans over a century of time, also including packed fresh marbles of Aaron, Mays, Robinson, Williams, Clemente, Berra. There's a whole bunch of them. A majority of these pristine-like offerings reflect PSA 8 and 9 assessments, with more than 20 cards boasting perfect 10s. Ending on Saturday, February 3rd, this sports card extravaganza.
So it's a book. This is a book.
I'm trying to read this.
It's a book.
This sports
We're gonna be
card
out of time.
extravaganza stands as another profound example of how memory lane continues to proudly provide the collecting community with a seemingly infinite selection of finest cards on the planet. Guys from memory lane, they love us. Thank God. February 3rd, it enters. Make sure you check them out.
Jeez.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Oh man, I'll tell you. They are good people.
Great people.
Okay.
We hope they're still with us.
Welcome to another Gax Moment, brought to you by our good friend Paul Borges and PB Collectibles, your neighborhood card shop. Go to pbcollectibles.com to find that special card or piece of memorabilia. A few weeks ago, Dan Wilkin from Memory Lane Auctions asked Rico a question. When did he realize that he really loved baseball? Rico gave his answer, but his answer told a lot more about the environment that he grew up in and how that all changed. This is a little different Gax moment, but hang in there now and give a listen. It's pretty good.
That's a good question because my number one sport was basketball at a very young age, 5, 6, 7 years old, because it was all you needed was a basketball and, it was not expensive. But the big thing was that my family moved from one section, Italian section, where there was very volatile. There was a lot of
mob stuff,
the mob stuff and all that. Guys getting killed every other day and bing. And so we fought a lot, kids there, young guys are always fighting. So we moved to an area that was predominantly Jewish, but mixed, certain areas. And so one day we moved right next to a schoolyard, the school I went to, and we had the schoolyard. So went to school. We had this free time. Everybody went to the schoolyard and played. So I had this pink, Spalding, we used to call it, ball. And I was throwing it up, trying to get higher and higher. And then one time it came down, hit off my hand and started rolling. And this other kid went after the ball. I thought he was going to take the ball and take off.
That's because of where you came from.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I ran at the kid and he had the ball and I went and I punched him. I'm sorry. I punched the kid and, it was like, what are you trying to do? Steal my ball? No. And another kid came over to me, Bobby Silverman, he's passed away since then. But Bob said, hey, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean what I'm doing? He's trying to take my ball. He says, no, we don't do that. He was trying to get you the ball to bring it back. I said, well, I don't know about that. He says, you want to play ball? I said, yeah, my father's a coach of a youth team, like a little league, 12 years old. I said, I don't know. So he gave me a uniform and I put it on. I looked at it. I said, hey, that's cool, man. So I said, yeah, I'll play. Where do you play? What position? I don't know. I'll pitch, I'll play somewhere. So I started pitching. That was the beginning of my baseball career.
Wow.
Really.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Rick, that tells the whole story about you really, really love the game and how you got started.
Yeah, absolutely. I never would. My dream was basketball, playing college basketball, maybe pros and stuff like that. And then I was asked, "You want to try baseball?" My father's a coach, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sure, I'll try. And that was it. Got to love baseball.
Did your parents? I know Did they go to your games, like your high school games in basketball and baseball?
Not my mother and father, my brothers.
Your brothers did?
Yeah, I have four brothers.
Yeah.
But, everybody has a story like that. Things change in their life. I'm not, things happen like that. It's interesting to look back.
Absolutely.
Now, I had a question for
Steve.
Yeah, Steve. This is not really about. I was curious as to how you started in collecting. Did you collect as a youngster? Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. I grew up as a huge baseball fan, so I was like 5 or 6 years old. And my grandfather, who I was very, very close to, saw Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig play. So when I was 9 years old, I knew who Dizzy Dean was and Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and Willie Keeler and all those guys. So I started, I remember buying, when I was 9 years old in 1979, going to a show and seeing a 1969 Johnny Bench card with the trophy on it. And I always thought that was so awesome. So where I grew up in Queens, we were not allowed to be Yankee fans. In our neighborhood, if you wanted a Mickey Mantle card, Hank Aaron and Willie Mays were worth 5 times Mickey Mantle. We were National League fans. We were
that's right. Yeah.
We weren't allowed. So we were the senior circuit. So I didn't have any Mantle cards growing up. Never did. So in my neighborhood, believe it or not, we collected the older cards too. We were huge baseball fanatics. We go to games and do everything. So I started buying and selling this stuff it's crazy at 11 or 12 years old. And my first show was senior year in high school and I was 18. And I had to make a showcase from wood from scratch. I didn't have the money to buy a real one. And
that's
it was a lot of fun.
That's a great story though, Steve.
Yeah.
Steve, do you still, it's amazing how much goes through your hands as far as cards and memorabilia. Do you still collect? Do you have a personal collection still?
I do. I collect, really weird and goofy stuff. So I don't have any PSA Mantle cards or sets. I collect Cincinnati Reds stuff. I collect Hank Greenberg stuff, and I collect unusual things that I like, things we don't that you don't see that often, things that are neat. A couple of years ago, I added a Charles Darwin autograph to my collection. That came in. I was like, oh, it's just too cool. I can't sell that. I have this, you would love this. I have this amazing 11 by 14 sepia photo of Ted Williams fly casting or something, and it has signed in fountain pen with 5 lines of text. Original photo. That came in a collection. I was like, I have to keep that because in 1990 I met Ted Williams and he was so nice to me. So I always remember that forever. So I have the autograph he signed for me. So I like Ted Williams stuff, So yeah, it's not just a business for me. I collect too, but esoteric things, unusual things.
That's right. Great.
You have this is right up your alley. You have a 1967 complete Topps set. Tell us about 90 of them are graded.
Yeah, it's a super sharp set. So it's an interesting story. So it was an engineer for I think Boeing was really, 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 hardcore with getting really sharp cards. And he went card by card, getting the hardest thing he could get. I know that he graded it with SDC instead of PSA, but the cards are really, really nice. These cards are great. So it's one of the sharpest 67 sets we've seen. These are all, it's a gorgeous near mint to near mint to mint set. But one thing for your viewers that maybe the most, next to the Joe Cronin thing, some of the most unique items in the auction we have, which are just so rare, 1910 M110 Sporting Life cabinets. These have a great
cards.
Hardly ever see these now. One of them, there's a Honus Wagner in there, and it's interesting. It was PSA did authentic altered, and I got this card 25 years ago there was a collector. I don't want to say his name, but he was a legend in the New York area. This guy, he sold light bulbs and he would travel around the country. We became buddies. I was like his mini protege with a similar business. And every city he would go to in the 70s, he'd hit up the local card store or a bookstore and he'd have the most amazing stuff he would find. A lot of it garbage. But then also amazing things like, why did you buy this? Oh, I don't know. And then he'd have unbelievable stuff. So he had that Honus Wagner and he bought it in 1975 or something, and it's cut a little bit short. I have a feeling that the card's good, and it was just a factory specification thing back in 1910.
Sure.
He probably bought that thing for $20 in 1975, and I really don't think anyone was trimming cards back then, especially a cabinet that was that big. So we have 4 of the 6 from the set. So we have that. There's a Lajoie, there's a Chance. I mean, so those are really
great
awesome
cards. They're beautiful, beautiful cards. And they're oversized. They look like art pieces. That's what they look like. Yeah, they really do. I mean, they're beautiful. Steve, you have a Ruth exhibit card also, don't you?
Yeah, we have a 1921 Exhibit Babe Ruth card. That's a classic. We also have a Harrington's Ruth. Dollar-wise, the biggest one, we have a 33 Gowdy Ruth number 149 and an SGC 5. And, as everyone knows, they're hard to get in fives. So that's a big card. So that, that's in there. And then in terms of one really cool story in law, there's two things you'll really get a tickle out of. So we got two fun things. So some people come to a show a few months ago, and their father was a realtor, and they sold Lou Gehrig. Lou Gehrig bought a house for them for his mother, and Lou Gehrig was famously frugal and didn't want to spend money. So so Gehrig signed the business card of the realtor. So we have that at the auction. It's
wow. Hey, that's cool.
They had it like 80 years, and they're up in Westchester. So we have that. And then, this is like a crazy thing, but we have the phone from Ebbets Field.
I saw that.
On it has the return number. It came from a really advanced Dodger collection. Like one of these things, like, oh my God, what a crazy item.
I mean, but those are kind of like what you're saying. Those are kind of cool items to collect. You know what I mean? Kind of off the wall things, but that have some meaning and some provenance.
Look at Dodger fans in those days. I was a kid. I mean, when they left, people went wild. But when they were still there, people loved them, even though they called them the bums. The people loved them.
Were you when they moved? When they left, you had already left, right?
No,
you were there when they left.
Yeah, they left in what, 58 or 57?
So when did they knock down the stadium?
Oh, a couple of years later, they made apartments, high-rise.
Because I was wondering if, with the memorabilia world being as it is, did they sell off stuff?
That I don't know.
Steve, do you know?
The seats exist. They went upstate. Stadium seats almost never get thrown out. From one point, they weren't even worth anything. They went somewhere in the Catskills in like a skating rink or something. Now they're probably, but way back when, stadium seats are a funny thing because it wouldn't make any sense. Someone will take it and use it somewhere else. They rarely ever got thrown out. And the collectors would trace, the guys are really into this. We had a big collection of them once. They would know exactly the history of where they went from what to what to what. And then they would try to buy some. But no, they didn't throw out the seats, but everything else probably got destroyed.
It's like an interesting story. I'm going back about 20 years ago. My family has a business in the greater Boston area. And we had gone out to Boston University. Mm-hmm. Guy's name was Phil DiCarlo. Phil was the director of facilities. He was a good friend, and took us out to Nicholson Stadium, which is the old Braves field,
Boston Braves.
And the only thing that was left is the facade to Nicholson Stadium. It's still there. So when you go into the stadium, the facade to Boston to Braves Field is there. But then he took us down into the bowels of Nicholson Stadium. And there was some really cool stuff. A couple of the offices were still there that they were being used. All the old urinals. They had kept them all. Kind of, it was really eerie. It was cool. It was cool to walk.
Well, when we get back, we'll check that facade. Maybe we'll get one of those saws and
take it with us. Take it with us. Really, Steve. Let's talk about. You have a 51 Bowman mantle and a 51 Bowman maze. What kind of condition are they in?
They're collector grade, which I think in this market is perfect. So the mantle's an attractive one. It's got good centering. It's just a really nice card for the grade. The maze is freshly graded by PSA. It's a really nice 3. Collector got that about 30 years ago, and we got it graded for him. So it's a really nice, really nice looking cards. You can never go wrong with those. They're classic cards for some reason, which seems really, I can't explain. And some of them have actually gone down a little of the Mano rookies in the last 5 months, which you always think of this one card that's like the rock solid.
I can't put my finger on the pulse there. And I totally agree with you. It happened to me. I had 2, not high grade. One was a 4 I still have. And one was a 2 that I sold to a private. I wound up selling it for about $2,000 less than I paid for it, and I was disappointed. I was disappointed. It seems as though that card has, it picks up a head of steam, then it staggers a little bit. So a logo, what is the grade 2? The one that you're selling?
This one's a 1, which might actually be better because
I was going to say that's a good card to buy at that price. That's a good card to buy.
I mean, the thing is, what I don't understand is, I mean, we all get the 52 Topps card and all that, but you can't call it a rookie card. Mantle played in 1951. He was in the World Series, and nobody calls the 52 Topps Mays the rookie card, but they call it.
I know that, and
I don't get that.
There's no. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I mean, I think it has to do with that it was the first Topps issue. Number one, they are a more colorful card. I mean, compared to two cards, I mean, the 52 Mantle is a much prettier card. But what do you think? Do you think that maybe Mr. Mint's find had something to do with it as the years progressed with the Mantle find? I mean, I don't have my finger on it either.
I don't know. It's just hobby culture, but it's not a rookie card. Like people used to think the T206 was the Honus Wagner rookie card. It's like he played for 10 years before that.
Exactly.
It's a rookie card. And then this big, and like another one, like, I don't know if you ever touched one. Years ago, I made a mistake with this. The T206 quote Ty Cobb with the Ty Cobb back. Actually, It actually has gloss on the front. It's really a T213 Type 2. I totally dropped the ball and was selling one privately because I got scared. Because I was like, why does it have gloss on it? A T206 can't have gloss. It actually really shouldn't be a T206.
It really, well, again, there's two schools of thought there, and I totally agree with you. The real purists don't refer to it as a T206, but then you've got a large segment of the population, a hobby population, that does refer to it as a T206, and I agree, it's not. It is absolutely not.
You can't have gloss. That's the only card to have gloss on. Because if you touch the card, it's really, you don't probably tell in a holder, but when you touch it in hand, like, it scared the hell out of me. And I blew a deal, many years ago, decades ago with that, because it scared me. Because how many people have actually touched the card? Yeah. But yeah, they become famous and they hold a certain way. But so the other stuff with our auction, there's 1,000 lots. Big variety of collecting budgets, from affordable things to high-end things. There's a lot of autographs, there's a lot of memorabilia, sets, single cards. There's a really nice mix. Probably the most balanced auction we've ever had.
He's got some great stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just the things that we talked about. What's your website people can get to you?
All right, so it's
for the auction.
Oh, thank you. It's cleansweepauctions.com. That's cleansweepauctions.com. Just make sure the auction ends on Wednesday, January 31st. You have to have your first bid in by 8 o'clock. We do use the 10-minute rule. The whole auction ends at the same time, so it'll go a little late. Make sure to read our rules, but you have to have your first bid in by 8 o'clock, Wednesday, January 31st. Of course, registration is free. If you have any questions, let us know. We're happy to help you with anything.
We are chatting with Steve Verkman from Clean Sweep Auctions. We got about a minute and a half in this segment, Steve. Steve, what are your thoughts? And I've asked everybody this question. These influencers that you see, these guys that call themselves influencers on all the different platforms, recommending cards to buy. I think it's all a scam. I don't believe any of them. I think those guys a lot of them are on the payrolls of bigger companies, and these modern card kids are listening to them. Any thoughts on that?
I hate to say it, I really don't have any. I don't really follow that stuff. I would just be very skeptical of people giving you unsolicited financial advice. Maybe they're telling you to buy a card because they have 50 of them or 10 of them. I would just be worried about conflicts of interest. But I'm kind of a dinosaur. We don't do much on social media or follow that stuff. We're kind of meeting.
I would suggest you stick to what you're doing then.
Yeah.
It's crazy. All right, listen, we're going to take a quick break. We come back. I think we're going to bring, if he's here, Bob Brodwater from Collectibles Insurance Services. You got to have insurance. Steve's going to be with us right to the end. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
Pristine Auction is a family-owned and operated online auction specializing in autographed memorabilia, sports cards, coins, art, and collectibles. Since their founding in 2010, they've grown to 2 facilities in Phoenix, Arizona, totaling over 60,000 square feet. Jared Cavalier and an incredible staff of over 150 team members serve a very large customer base and enjoy every minute of it. By working with leading authentication companies, Pristine ensures all items are 100% authentic. In addition, third-party authenticators regularly travel to Pristine Auction to provide authentication services on site. Pristine Auction strives to operate its business in a way that's honoring to God, their families, and their customers. With a strong focus on speed, quality, and premier customer service, their mission is to be the leading online auction for every level of collector and fan. Pristine also works for Hope Sports and Identity Hoops International. traveling to Mexico to build houses for the less fortunate. Pristine Auction offers several online auction formats with thousands of auctions ending each day. For more information, go to pristineauction.com. That's Pristine Auction, the best in the business.
If you're a discerning collector interested in owning the most important pieces in the hobby, look no further than Leland's Auctions. The original sports auction and appraisal house, Leland's was established in 1985 by legendary Pioneer founder Joshua Leland Evans. And today, President Mike Hefner carries on their tradition. From the Tom Brady card and memorabilia collection to the famed Boston Garden Auction to high-end card auctions from every major sport, Leland's has always maintained the highest standards. Go to Lelands.com and get your bid in. That's Leland's, the hobby's leading sports auction house for 4 decades.
It's often been said that championships are won on the practice field, and world records come only to those willing to work harder than everybody else. Heritage Auctions is the world's largest collectibles auctioneer because we believe that becoming the best is only an invitation to the challenge of remaining the best. This requires the skills of the hobby's top experts, capable of identifying and maximizing value for our consigners. It requires the most visited website in the industry, courting a global audience of collectors over 1.5 million strong. It requires a dedicated press department that expands our global reach far beyond the entrenched hobby marketplace. It's hard work, but a simple premise. Present the finest collectibles to the largest population of potential buyers, and world records will come. We invite all listeners to put the unmatched power of Heritage Auctions to work for you. Auction evaluations are always free, and our commission-based fee structure ensures that our interests are always aligned. The highest possible price for your collectibles. There will always be new world records to chase, so let's chase them together. Visit our website at ha.com and request your no-obligation review today.
Are you a collector looking for that rare trading card or autographed ball or photo? If so, then PB Collectibles in Newport is the place for you. PB Collectibles has graded cards, raw cards, complete sets, and wax boxes of the stars of the future, today, and from the past. We also offer a large selection of both vintage and modern cards. So whether you're looking to add to your collection or sell it, visit us at PB Collectibles, 269 Spring Street in Newport, located across from St. Mary's Church. We are your neighborhood card shop and much more.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
Hey, I'm Mike Petroselli. If your company is looking for the best in marketing and promotional items, you'll hit a home run with Petroselli Marketing. With over 8,000 suppliers and 650,000 imprint-ready items, we can get your company the visibility it needs to get your maximum exposure. Whether it be office promotions, wearables, automotive, sports items, and everything in between, Petroselli Marketing can do it all. Our design staff will even work with you from concept to delivery and customize your products. At Petroselli Marketing Group, we will get your brand in front of your audience. Contact us at info@petrosellimkt.com. or call us at 603-880-3202. That's Petroselli Marketing, where no dream is impossible.
Don't forget, Petroselli Marketing, always on time. They're always on time, or else I give my kid a beating. No, he's too big. But nationwide, by the way. I'm trying to get our auction house guys, because they give the giveaways with the logo on it. He does all that stuff.
You could lay a few pens on me or something. You cheapskate.
I will. No,
Petroselli pens.
Yeah, we got them.
Right?
We got them.
Right. We are back, and Bob Brodwater from Collectibles Insurance Services is in the house with us now. Bob, how are you?
Good. How you doing? Good to see you guys.
Say hi to Steve Verkman from Clean Sweep Auctions. Steve's been with us for the whole show. Listen, right out of the gate, Bob, we try to stress all the time how important is it for hobbyists and collectors to have their stuff insured.
It's very important. Your typical homeowners or renters policy is going to provide very little or minimal coverage for your collections, and certainly not up to the current market value.
Bob, I want to. Is there a minimum worth of the collection, or can be worth very little and still get?
Is there a minimum value?
Yeah,
about $1,000. We'll break it up for it, but we insure policyholders from a few thousand all the way up to $1 million plus. So we have a pretty wide appetite for the high end stuff as well.
Does your collection have to be appraised? People have asked us that question. I mean, if I have 100 items, do I have to list them and send them to you? How does it typically work?
So our agents, our sales team has been, our company was founded by collectors for collectors. So they're very good at working with customers to understand what they have. If you have any individual items worth $25,000 or more, we ask for details and approximate value. We'll schedule them on the policy. Items under $25,000, we just provide what's called blanket coverage. Those items, we ask the insured to maintain pictures, any transactional records, and their inventory list. So should a loss happen, there's clear documentation. But no, they don't have to contact us on any items unless those items are $25,000 or more for us to add to the policy.
Steve, by the way, jump in. Any questions that you may have? I mean, I'm assuming, Steve, that your personal collection, that you have insurance?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I have insurance that. And do you do dealers as well, or do you just do collectors?
We do dealers as well. And to answer the prior question, we don't require appraisals. But yes, we'll insure dealer inventory. It's a good point. Oftentimes, the standard business owner policy won't provide the same level of coverage we are able to for the inventory. And some of the attractive features we offer is coverage is extended to the transit and shipping exposures as well.
That's huge. That's very big. Hey, Bob, I at least once a year, and this is something that I really appreciate. If you add to your collection, you can increase your policy at any time. Just pick up the phone, let them know that I want to increase it by X amount of dollars. So I've done that twice this year with you guys, and it's it's very, very convenient. Send us some paperwork, and you're off and running.
What type of things you cover? I mean, Joe, you have a list. There's floods. You have flood coverage.
We, unless it's a coastal risk, we will cover fire, theft, accidental breakage, water loss if it's a pipe burst, flood, other than coastal areas, and as I mentioned, the shipping damage to or from is a big one.
Yeah.
What if something gets lost in the mail? Let's say that I win something on a Clean Sweep auction, and they send it to me like the correct way, but somehow it gets lost or it gets stolen. What happens there?
So if the customer never gets receipt of the item, it's covered. We see lost in the mail quite often. We do ask our customers if they're sending something or they order something and it can be received with signature required and tracking. That just helps our claim process, and it provides a higher level of coverage. If it's never received or breaks in the mail, it's covered.
Awesome.
Do they have to be, the customer has to have their collection in a safe? You require that?
We don't require a safe standard. However, if it's high valued items, we will ask the customer if they have a central station alarm, if they do have a safe to keep it in. So there have been instances with some high valued items where we've gone that step, but that's the exception. So no, not required.
So basically, I better keep it out of my shoebox.
That's right. You're not kidding. Do it.
Really. Steve, I wanted to ask you, while Bob is here, do you recommend insurance to your customers, in the course of conversation?
It doesn't come up that often, but it's usually a good idea. But everyone has their own position on what they want to do and how much they want to spend and everything. But as a dealer, of course, we have insurance. We have to have it. But it comes up, and not as often as you might think. I mean, it comes. When it comes up, it's weird when it shouldn't. Like someone dies and they have a collection and they're going to have it for 6 months or a year, and then they worry about getting it insured. It's like, well, if you're going to sell it 6 months or a year, I wouldn't worry about it so much. But I guess it's a good. I'll tell them, it's a good idea. I certainly wouldn't send anything without insuring it or signature required if you don't have a policy, because that's just packages are lost. I feel like more than ever. So I mean, it's insane to you're taking incredible risk not shipping something without insurance directly or indirectly. Yeah, you have to have that, really.
Good question. Bob, is there a deductible?
$50. And for the dealers, we have varying deductibles, start as low as $200 up to a couple thousand. But the average collector we have, they spend a couple $100 a year annually to insure anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 worth of collectible property. So given the amount they've invested and time collecting, it's a small spend for the peace of mind is our key selling point.
Excellent. You're a collector yourself, aren't you?
I am. Yeah.
If I recall, was it comic books?
Actually, model trains. The old line. Yes,
very cool. I had one of those.
Bob Montgomery was a catcher with us. Every city we'd go to, he'd go to where they sell
buy a train.
Buy trains. At the end of his career, he's thinking of selling it, almost $200,000.
Oh, I believe that.
Unbelievable. Great stuff he had.
I believe that. My father cheaped out. I had an American Flyer, which was, that was like kind of like Avis. And I mean, it was like kind of the second tier, Bob. Is that right? Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. That was my old man. He had,
what the heck?
Yeah. What do you want from me? We chatted. Oh, your website. I'm sorry. Your website address?
Yes, collectinsured.com, or you can find us, search us online, Collectibles Insurance.
Are you going to be at the National this year, or are you going to have a representative at the National?
Yes, I will be there this year.
Because we're going to be broadcasting from the Burkus stage, Rico and I, on the Friday afternoon of the National. We're going to be doing a 2-hour show, and we usually bring up a panel for at least an hour to talk about everything there is to talk about. We'd like to get you up there because I think it's really, really important. A lot of collectors, you'd be surprised how many don't have insurance, and I can't. I scratch my head. So
I'd be happy to.
Great.
Yeah, great.
All right, Steve, your auction ends when?
Okay, Wednesday, January 31st. You have to have your bids in by 8:00. So that's Wednesday, January 31st is the last day of the auction.
I can't stress, folks, get on the website. He's got some amazing items on there. And don't forget, folks, really important, don't forget to go to the link and support us for Little Smiles. We really want to do something good for these kids. With that being said, we love you guys. Happy collecting.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.